So first it is asking us to log in, right? So let me just log in. Then I have this add book on clicking on which it takes to this particular. I can enter. So one thing I want to change in the schema is that add book, right? Who has created it? Who has created this book? Right? I want to know who has inserted this record into the system. Created by
employee.
right? Integer references, right? I am going to take employee table, right? So and so right. So I'll try to do the same thing for student as well, so that we know who has created this record. So we as a system, we should know who has created this record, right? So we need to keep track of it, and hence which employee. So there might be n number of employees who would be logging into the system. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Now, so there can be a morning shift employee, evening shift employee, night shift employee, or any kind of employee, right? So when they're logging in into different times, so we wanted to know which employee has given out this record, which employee has created this student, which employee has created this book, which employee has um, given this book to the student. So we have the student ID, book ID, and we also have the employee ID. And so we will say references. This. So references is a foreign key thing, right? So let me add not null into this. So these three tables, let us delete and recreate. Let us drop these tables and recreate. All right. So what we have done just now, right? So we have added one more column in the books table and the borrowed books table and the student table, just to track who inserted this record, right? Who created this record. It should not be like, if you have records in the DB, it should not I cannot tell who created it. So we should always keep track of the events. Okay, who is the user who created this? Right? You cannot create if you are managing a library, you cannot keep some random books, right? Or you cannot keep some rubbish books. So if somebody is doing it, you should know who has done it. That way you can ask them, why did you do it? Yes or no? Right? You have to keep track of everything that happens. So that is the reason we have added this created by field. So that way, when we know who is the logged in user. So how do I know who is the logged in user? How do we know who is the logged in user?
By logging, we have given home.html, sir. By logging, it will give the user current username.
Which field has which variable can give us the logged in user detail? In Python, when using a Flask, right? If I want to access who is the logged in user, how can I know the username? How can I know what is the ID? What is the email? What is the name? Right. So you have a field called current user. From the Flask login, you would import current user, right? So current user is the who what? So who will have the current logged in user information? Okay, we have used that. Okay,
Yes,
all
sir.
right. So let's get back to this. Right, so we have sent the current user here, right? So basically that gives the logged in user detail. Right, so now if it is a post request, so there are title is equal to request dot form of What is the book HTML? Where is the book HTML? So what is the data that we have given? Title, author, and copies. Title. I'm going to. Who is the author? Author. Copies. Copies. And since this is going to be integer information, I'm going to convert this to integer and copies. So form, I'm going to use a dot get here instead of that. So it is a dictionary, right? So dot get and default value is 0. If nothing is coming from the front end, the default value is 0. The author also, I'm going to convert it to a title case, or maybe yeah, title case is good enough. So and then request title. This also I'll convert it to title case. If user doesn't enter it properly, I'm ensuring that we'll convert it to the proper title case. Right. So we have this information. Now before this, I want to, where is my PGSQL? I want to drop those two. We'll delete the two tables, which is the books and borrowed books and books, borrowed books and student, and then we'll try to recreate them. Because we have modified the column, so we'll just drop and recreate because the data is anyways not there in it. Yes, so where is that? Right. What is the library name that we have used? It's sorry, database name. It's library underscore management, right? Okay, then this is the correct one. Query tool. Drop table, table name, student. Drop table, books. Drop table, borrowed books. Let me try dropping these three tables. What is the table name for borrowed books? It's borrowed books only, right? BORROWED. Right, so let's recreate these three tables. Okay, let us create the student table. Okay, done. Let us create the books table. Done. And lastly, let us create the borrowed books table. And done. So we have all the three tables created. Now let's go back to the app. Right, so before that, let us go to util and write our query. All right. Insert book. Right. Insert into book or books. What is the table name? I think it is book. No, it is books. Insert into books. Right. So what are the fields we have? Title, author, copies. Right. So insert into books, title, author, copies. I think let me just go back to the table. So what all we have in the books? Title, author. Okay, it is total copies, not copies. and bought on will be default, and created by is what is required. All right, let's go back to, it's not copies, it is total copies, and created by values are going to be, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Percentage is, percentage is, percentage is, percentage is. So 4 columns and 4 values that will be filled at the runtime. All right. Insert book. Now let's go back here. So I have these 3, and let us get the DB connection. So we already have how to get a DB connection. So before that, what we will do, so we have the book model, right? So just like user model, we'll also create the book model, right? We're using which we will try to create it. Book model def init. Okay. What is the book title? What is the, who is the author? What is the author name? What are the total copies? And right, total copies, author, and these are the things, and available copies, and who created this book? Created by. So, and when was it created on? Created on. These details that we will want to create as part of the, right, available, bought on. So created on or bought on. Bought on. Right. Self dot title is equal to title. Self dot. Did you guys write the model?
Yes, sir.
Created by is equal to created by self dot dot on is equal to dot on. Right. Now in the same thing, right? So we want to create more classes, more functions or methods to insert the records. Def create book. So what are the parameters that we get in order to create the book? Title, author,
Total copies.
copies. These are the only things that we create, right? So now let us import the query. So let me just take a few things from the user model. Right. So, right, let me just copy this. Sorry, not here. Right. Queries import. Insert book. All right. And we also want who is the current user. Right. I just want current user ID. Right. Not much. I just want the user ID. All right. So I have this basic details, and now I can just go ahead and create. Now I have the DB connection, right? First thing is cursor is equal to DB connection dot get connection, right? So which is not cursor connection, and then cursor is equal to on dot cursor. You get the cursor object, cursor dot execute, and this is where we want the query. So what is the query? Insert book followed by, we pass the parameters title, author, total copies, current user ID, right? and then con dot commit cursor dot close connection dot close, right? So now let me just, since there is a possibility of having the error here, create book if return true, and sorry, true if successful, else return false. Okay, all right, I think let me just keep it in the indentation properly. Okay, I think we are good with the create book, and let's pass the, just I want to verify these are the same order that we have given in the queries, right? Title, author, total copies, current user ID. Title, author, total copy, created by. So we are good. Book model. So create book. So from the app, right? Let us import from models dot book model import book model. Right. Now what we are going to say? Book model dot create book. So create book needs to be a static. Create book needs to be a static method. So it should not be instance method, right? So it will be, there is no self as a parameter. So whatever is the incoming, this guy should just go ahead and create it. So create book and pass the title, author, copies, current user dot ID, right? So this will give the information created is equal to, so this is going to return false or true. If created, then return. All right, add book. So how many HTMLs we have? So home and add book. So basically what happened, so home has the thing, right? Okay, return redirect slash home. So let's redirect it to the home if created, else, right? Let's go back to the return render template add book, and error is equal to true. And if error is true in the addbook.html, we will show certain error. So which is, I'm going to be outside. If error, I'm going to use a p tag, style color red. I'm going to say fail to create book record. Retry again after some time, right? And if we have opened a for, we have to ensure to end the for as well. All right, so let us go back and try to insert the record. So we have taken the input. We are going to be creating the book, and that's it. I think we are good. Let us go ahead and try this in from the user interface. Let me reload. Okay, seems like there is an error. So in the addbook.html, so it is a if and I'm ending it with for. End if All right, so looks good. Give me a book title. Who is the author? Let me say author new, and let us say 10 copies. Let me just say give some name. Let us say Andrew is the author, and I've taken 10 copies. And I will submit. Okay, failed to create a book record. Please try again, retry again after some time. So why did it fail to create exception in the create book? Let us do one thing. We don't know what is the exception. So, right. So let's also print. What is the exception? We don't know what is the exception. Let us try to Andrew, and let me just say 10 copies. Okay, now let us look. Row contains to reserve null 1. Failing rows, exception available books violates not null
Available
condition.
copies not null given, sir.
Right, so available copies, if nothing is there, so let us take it as 0. So let us look at our schema. So available copies I have said not null, right? So I'll just do one thing. Default, I will say 0. Or available copies equal to total copies, right? Okay, so let us do one thing. So if I'm buying, so at the time of insertion, my available copies is same as my total copies. So let's go update our query. Title authors, total copies. I'm going to say available copies will also be same, right? Percentages, right? Now from the book model, I am going to say total copies, and I am going to pass total copies again here, because at the time of creation, they both are one and the same. Okay, so I think I'm good. Let us go back and right. Okay, seems like why what happened? Slash home. What happened?
Home root is not there, sir. Only slash only is there, sir.
Right. Okay, so let's go back and see, like, if it has created. One moment. So let's start from books. Right. So we were able to insert this successfully, right? So 3 Android 10 total copies available copies is also 10 bought on this date, created by what? User ID 1. So do we have all the data that is required? Now let us try. Okay, so there is no home, it is just the slash, right? Okay, right. Okay, let's add one more book. So now what is the idea? So though I given a smaller case, right? At the time of creation, it should be the title case. For example, I'm saying 3 mistakes of my life. So all I'm giving in a small copies. 100 copies we are buying, right? Let me just submit, and let's go back and verify the data to see if it has properly converted. Now, did it convert it properly? 3 mistakes of my life, Chetan Bhagat, it's all in capital case. I mean, it's a title
Yes,
case,
sir. Yes, sir.
right? Now it becomes easy and neat, right, to look at this data, right? Okay, so now we are able to create the book. Now here we will try to list the books. We'll try to list the books. So we are able to create, and from here it goes to the UI, right? So I'm going to create app dot route books/list, right? At the rate login required def sorry, I'm going to call this function as list books, right? And this is going to return me the books. This is going to return the books. So let's write our query. Get books, right? Select star. Okay, do we really want star? Do we really want to? Okay, let us go with ID, name, title. Okay, ID and title, right? Title, author. See, what I want here is created by. So let's go back here. Let us write that query. Select ID, title, author, copies, available copies, bought on, created by. Okay, but tell me what is the problem? But in the UI, the way I want to show is created by should be the name of the employee who created it. But rather, what will this give? Right, it gives me the ID. It gives me the ID 1, but instead of created by, what I want is a name. So that is where we will be using joins. Select ID created, or maybe like, from books. Let me just do this in a join y on books as B, as employee as E dot ID equals to, sorry, yeah, E dot ID equals to B dot created by. And now I'm going to say E dot name. So now, since I have used the join, now this gives the name. This should, okay, so everywhere. So since what I want is B dot ID, right? So instead of ID, now is it giving me the employee name?
Yes, sir.
Right. So this is the query that we want. Now let's copy this. Let's go back here. And we know these are the columns that it is going to return. Right. Okay, so get books will return the books. Now let me go to the book model. Now let me create a function at the rate static method def get books. Right now, let me import get books query, and this let me create a class method because this is going to return list of book models. List of book models. Class method, first parameter is CLS, right? So before that, okay, let me just take the DB connection, execute the query, and so on. Right, so let me just get books, and there are no parameters for it. Right, there are no parameters for it.